Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So numbers are still trending-ish in line with what we've been talking about the last few weeks. So looking at what happened last week, Georgetown had 8 sales, which is good for sellers in the sense that we have seen a lot lower numbers than that, like 3 or 4 listings selling. And so 8 is a decent week for Georgetown, especially this time of year. One number that has crept up this week is there's 12 new listings. So that is much higher than what we've seen the last few weeks. So that's interesting to see 12 new listings, but it still didn't really impact our overall inventory, given that we've had a good amount of sales, as well as, again, properties coming off the market, which I'll talk about in a bit. Acton had 1 sale, so very quiet in Acton and no new listings. Glen Williams and Limehouse both had no sales and no new listings, and the rural market saw 1 sale and 1 new listing. So not a ton happening there. Georgetown is really our market where we're seeing things sell as well as list. And then the other thing we've been talking about for the last few months, because this is really an interesting, I guess, topic amongst the numbers that I run, is properties coming off the market, reducing their price, etc. So last week there was 18 properties that went to expired, terminated, suspended. Of those 18, 10 of them came off the market. They have not relisted onto the market yet. So again, this is, I don't even know how many weeks. 1, 2, oh my gosh, like this has been a really long time where we're seeing like 10 plus listings coming off the market every week. And that's really taking our inventory down significantly from, the 230-ish that we saw at that peak, in terms of all the available listings. So 10 properties came off the market last week. 6 of the 18 properties relisted at a lower price. Of those 6, 2 of them have relisted significantly lower and are holding off offers. So again, is that strategy working? I don't know, but we have 6 properties that have reduced their price last week, and then 2 properties just relisted at the same price just to get some traction and get, bumped up in the realtor.ca app. So overall, still a lot of properties exiting the market because, like we've talked about, it is not a great time to sell your house. And if you don't need to, we are finding a lot of sellers are just deciding to, just cool off for a bit and see what happens in the new year. So now looking at overall inventory, last week we were at 201. We are officially under 200 active listings. We have 197 active listings in Halton Hills, which is going in the right direction to have a little more life in our market. So 197 active listings. In Georgetown, our listings remain the same this week at 117 active listings. That is definitely down significantly from like the 140-ish that we were seeing, but we still have a long way to go. Like when our market was busy in May, we were in the 60s, so 65 to 70 listings in May, and the market was very busy. So we're almost double that right now, and so the market is still very, very cool for sellers. Looking at our price points, under 800,000, there are so many listings. We are up from 16 to 19 active listings under 800,000. Of the 19, 16 of them are condo apartments or condo townhouses. There again is so many of those things available. Those products I find in particular have really pushed back on like reducing their price. But the reality is we saw a detached house in the Delrex area get $686 this week. Even if it's a detached house with problems, like $686 for a detached house, and you've got these condo townhouses that are just okay at like $700. These condo townhouses need to come down in their list prices because the buyers are just not going to be biting at these higher prices. And then our next price point is 800 to $1 million. That is up from 27 to 31 active listings. So we have seen a nice spike. The 2 properties that came down, those were ones that were over $1 million and came down under $1 million. So we're starting to see a lot of that $1 million plus coming into that price point, which is causing it to spike. But again, there's just, when I look at the properties that are available, especially between 9 and 1 million, it is crazy how many houses are available. But that price point still is our active price point. We're seeing the majority of sales under $1 million, and you know, it's moving a little bit better, but the reality is all these prices just need to come down because buyers are not, they're just not spending what they were spending on houses. So 1 to 1.5 million plus is actually down this week from 48 to 43. That is a big drop. Again, some came off the market, some went under that million price point, but 43 properties, I think we got to like 60 at one point here. So it's still quite high in that pocket and not a lot of movement. But to see the inventory coming down is good news for sellers there. Now 1.5 million plus, we are at 24 active listings, down from 26. Still, this price point is crickets. Not a lot of sales in this price point at all. It's mostly just people coming off the market because there's not a lot of buyers over 1.5 million right now. So interesting to see sort of how those numbers are shifting and how we're starting to see a lot of inventory piling on under a million, which is something we're not used to seeing. But I mean, everything's just sort of adjusting. Now looking at Acton, Acton is down from 30 to 28 active listings, still sitting very high. Glen Williams remained the same at 10. Limehouse remained the same at 1, and the rural market is down slightly to 41 from 43. Still very high for the rural market though. So this week's numbers are pretty on par with what we've been seeing, except for the new listings in Georgetown. So we're a little bit elevated on how many new listings we saw last week, but in terms of properties coming off the market, properties reducing, we're pretty much in line with what we've been seeing, and we're seeing a good amount of sales. Again, not high, but the numbers overall are not horrific, and they're definitely going in a direction where things are going to feel a little less saturated, although I would argue some of the price points and products available are saturated. But you know, as inventory comes down and then we enter the new year, hopefully we start to see demand pick up a little bit. I don't think they're going to raise interest rates next week. Inflation was down, so let's just hope that we are kind of done with what interest rates impacting what the market is doing. So I'll be back next week with November's numbers as well as how we started off December. Have a great week, everyone.